Hello, this is Gran Turismo, a game where you buy a used car to race so you can earn money, so you can upgrade that car to return to racing and earn even more money, so that you can then afford an even better car, until you eventually become the supreme leader of Gran Turismo. But what would happen if you never changed off that starter car? Today, that's what we're going to find out. So with that, let's enter the world of Gran Turismo and get started. Now of course the first thing we're going to need is said starter car. So a quick trip over to the used car dealership to have a look at our choices. And boy do we have some choices on offer. RX-7s, MR2s, Silvias, a Galant. Oh no, this is the car for me. This one here. The car's got 2 doors, which indicates that it's a sporty coupe. And we know it's fast, because the word turbo is plastered right there in the name. And not just turbo, but Turbo 2, the sequel. This car is clearly a powerhouse. You know what? I'm sold. I'm taking this car. And seeing that from this point on, we're basically going to be living in this car, we may as well make ourselves at home. And with that, we've purchased our first car. So now it's time to get started. And what better place to start than the Sunday Cup, the entry point for any Gran Turismo journey, and the easiest races you're gonna find. So let's head over to the high-speed ring and blow away the competition. Oh no, I may have made a terrible mistake. I'm just kidding, this is the Honda City. Once it's built up speed, our little champion makes its way to the front of the grid before the first lap has even come to a close. By the second lap, it's built a substantial lead as it crosses the finish line for its first victory. And of course with victory comes reward money, $600 to be precise. And if we can win this race, then I don't see why we can't win every other race in the Sunday Cup. Alright Autumn Ring Mini, it looks like you're the next race on my list. This race turns out to be much more difficult than High Speed Ring, as the little city struggles in this technical course. And as we head towards the finish line, we're still back in second place. Okay, I'm not proud of that, but honestly, I was desperate, and I need the money. So with that victory, we go and collect our $600, before slinking off the side of the stage in embarrassment. You know what? Maybe I should actually be using some of this money to upgrade the car. So with that, our first stop is over to GT Auto to take care of something that people have probably been screaming at their screens for the past 2 races. That's right, we're finally changing the oil on this car, which gives it quite a nice power boost. Thank you, man in the yellow shirt. Now get away from my car. After that, it's time to start putting tuning parts on the car. Now where is that tuning shop? Ah, here we go. And it's a Honda. So obviously we're going down to the spoon parts. The first thing we're going to do is upgrade to a racing exhaust, and that's going to give us an extra 10 horsepower. Hey, don't laugh at that, this car's only got 110 horsepower, so believe it or not, that's a huge boost for us. Next up is the flywheel, chosen because it's the cheap transmission option. Hopefully it doesn't come back to bite us on the hills. That leaves us with just over $1,000 in the budget. And with the remaining money, since the Honda City is notoriously heavy, we're giving it a weight reduction. And that should improve all areas of the car. And with our money all gone, it's time to return to the Sunday Cup and claim victory in the remaining races, until only the twin ring remains. See? What did I tell you? That extra 10 horsepower really makes a difference. And by the second lap, we easily catch up to first place, flying past him so fast, it's like he was standing still. And sure, while we may overcook one of the corners, that's not going to stop us from claiming first in the final race of the Sunday Cup. And what do we get for completing the Sunday Cup? A mundane grey Auto Bianchi. Fantastic, that'll go great next to my city. That probably sounded sarcastic, but honestly, I really want this car. having absolutely destroyed the competition in the Sunday Cup, our Honda City has a thirst for blood, so we're off in search of more opponents, finding them in the Front Wheel Drive Cup, and our first race in the series takes part at Midfield Raceway. Ooh, 130 performance points. City, this one's gonna be tough. As soon as the race begins, in all of the excitement, the Honda City starts smoking up its wheels. Come on, this isn't the right play for now. We've got cars to catch. But even when the City does finish its smoke break, it still fails to make much ground on all the other cars, lagging behind for a majority of the race. This is clearly going to be an uphill battle for the little car. And while it may just be able to sneak into third place, sadly, much like my hairline, first and second are long gone. Fourth place even had thoughts about taking third off us. What I needed was a plan to stop him. Sadly, this is the best I could come up with. Yes, I'm disappointed in me too. As we finish the race in third place, walking away with $400 and lots of shame. Right, that's a pretty clear sign that once again, the Honda City's in need of some upgrades. So it's back to the tuning shop to see what we can afford. The first cheap upgrade we come across is a racing chip for $1,000, and that's going to add a whopping 5 horsepower to the car. Yes, I know that's pitiful, but we're going to take it, because what choice do we have? And after that, we'll go check out the turbos, finding out that we can afford, well, none of them. We're poor, but the Honda City does come with a built-in turbo. We can afford a sports intercooler, but I know what you're thinking. What sort of difference could 10 horsepower possibly make to this car? This sort of difference. No, this won't stand. We're a powerful car now, so we'll be taking first place back, thank you. As the Honda City races over the finish line for first place, claiming a prize pool of $1,500. We're going to run that race a few times to build up some credits, and then use said credits for more upgrades. First up, we're finally going to get that turbo we wanted, so let's check that one off the list. And next up, we're going to get a limited slip diff to try and sort out that wheel spinning issue. And after that, we're going to do a port polish, boosting our Honda City all the way up to 156 brake horsepower. And the last thing we purchase is some sports suspension. Do all these changes make a difference? Oh my god, yes! As we easily mop up the rest of the races in the Front Wheel Drive Cup. Before we can go any further on our adventure, we're going to need some licenses. So we grab both the National B and A license, which as an added bonus, come with some prize cars. First up is the Honda S600. In grey, a perfect addition to our garage. And the A license gives us a very powerful Nissan Skyline pace car. Now you would be very beneficial in helping us get through the game, but sadly, you're a little bit too colourful for our squad. Also, I hate you, so we're going to turn you into credits now. Goodbye. The money from that stupid Skyline puts us on the verge of being able to afford a giant turbo for the Honda City. So in a quest to find the remaining funds, we head over to the special race section of Gran Turismo, entering the first event where we find ourselves going up against a Renault R5 Turbo, a legendary high-performance car and a very threatening prospect. The stage is set for an epic battle between this performance car and our little tiny city of... Oh, never mind, we're in front. Well then I guess our main opponent at that point are buildings, and they don't move. Still, they put up a better fight than that Renault, so that we can get the required credits for what comes next. That's right, it's turbo time. And on top of that, we're also going to get a racing intercooler, allowing the Honda City to crack into the 200 horsepower bracket. Also, to help with acceleration, we're going to replace the clutch, before making our way over to the Clubman Cup, a definite step up in opponent performance. BMWs, Skylines, and RX-7s. Oh my. This does look like a threatening grid on paper. We feel a little bit worried at the beginning, as we soon become aware that dumping a giant turbo in this car is going to take a little bit of time to get accustomed to. But it only takes the first half of the lap for all of the fear to vanish, as the Honda City not only keeps pace, but manages to work its way up to a podium spot. Oh yes, this city is starting to build some potential. And we're really going to have to make use of all of that potential if we have any hope of catching the Skyline in first, as he has managed to pull quite a gap between the rest of the pack. But the city works hard, and by the start of the final lap, he's closed that gap, diving onto the inside line in the first hairpin. And with that, the lead is ours. Now all we've got to do is celebrate the victory by elegantly sliding across the finish line. Don't worry, City, we'll work on that. Shortly afterwards, I realised that by completing the special event, I'd be rewarded with this car. Now it's far too colourful to keep, so I went to sell it, coming to the realisation that I've just received a lot of money. And what do you do when you receive large amounts of unexpected money? That's right, you go on a spending spree. So it was back to the tuning shop for the city, buying every single part that didn't already have a tick next to it. Until eventually, the Honda City was fully upgraded. So it was time to head off to the track to see how potent of a creation we had made. Okay, wheels spinning at 90 miles an hour. Potent? Yes. Controllable? No. Looks like we're going to need to do some tuning if we're going to make this car viable. So sadly, we need to add an ugly wing to the back of this city. Also, we're going to find a way to push as much weight over those front tyres to keep traction. Once it's done, we discover the Turbo Cup. City, you have a turbo. We can enter this. Although now that I look at it, the competition does look pretty stiff. Well, we're here, so we may as well give it a shot. 156 points. Well, I do not fancy our chances here. And the confidence takes another hit as the race begins, watching all the cars become specks off in the distance. But we do have one secret weapon we're bringing with us, and that's a shit ton of NOS. Which means it's just become a numbers game. We've got to make it to position 1 before our NOS level hits 0. By the time we enter the second lap, we're already in third position, and rapidly closing in on the 3000 GT, stealing silver right out from underneath him, and continuing our quest towards the goal. And before the lap even finishes, we've found the current holder of that goal, and have no problem relieving him of that position, taking it for ourselves. City, I'm so proud of you. And now all we need to do is speed down towards that finish line and claim the victory. And it looks like it was quite a comfortable victory. City, it looks like you're not obsolete just yet. So let's take you over to the Japan Championship, which was so easy, it's not even really worth showing. But what can you expect when you manage to fly past the Godzilla at 175 miles per hour? You know what, City, you have done so well that I think I deserve a reward. So we're off to the used car dealership to find me a WRX, and this one looks perfect. I'm taking it. But sadly, since the city has still shown itself competitive, we can't use it. So into storage it goes. And over to the special events goes the city, heading into the normal difficulty class of races, going up against a Mitsubishi Evo. But as you can see, that right from the start, that Mitsubishi is so outclassed. That's right, you ain't got shit on this Honda City. As we manage to take the lead and speed off into the tight downhill section. But if you think it's smooth sailing from here, sadly, it's not. If you so much as nick a building on the uphill section, it completely robs you of your traction, with very little chance of getting it back. Meaning that on multiple attempts, that Evo robbed me right at the finish. But not this time. This time, we win. Next up is Takuba in the wet, where we find our opponent is a Mercedes SLR McLaren. Because sure, that seems doable. We can't even use our NOS here, because as soon as we touch it, the car breaks traction. The only good thing to note is that the Mercedes also seems to be struggling with grip. But with this being a technical track, and us seeming to have the advantage in the corners, we managed to take the lead. Sure, on the final straight he takes it back, but this track has far more corners than straights, meaning each lap we increase our lead a little bit more, until eventually he can't catch us. And our little Honda City completely tanks the Mercedes share prices as it vanishes off into the distance, eventually making its way over the finish line for a very comfortable first place. A very, very comfortable first place. Sorry, Mercedes. That victory filled us with enough confidence to decide to go and take on the hard special events. And it's at that point we discovered that our 219 horsepower Honda City was going up against actual freaking rally cars. But like the Mercedes before, maybe their bark is a lot worse than their bite. And we even managed to make an early overtake attempt. Sure, we overshot the corner and lost it, but now that WRX knows we're a threat. And the Honda City keeps the pressure on him throughout the lap, following closely until it reaches the downhill section, where the Honda City finally spots its moment and makes a move that looks to defy gravity. But it was successful, putting the Honda City in the lead, and now it's the WRX's turn to chase him, which it does a very poor job of, because the Honda City eventually crosses the line, miles ahead of him, and chalking up yet another victory. At this point, the Honda City has had a very storied career, clearing many races and championships, until there are only a couple that it is still eligible for. One of them being the tuning car Grand Prix. But these opponents are so far out of our league, we need to make sure that we get the right opponents in the right order to have a chance of winning. Nope. Nuh-uh. Right, hopefully these ones will do. Okay, Honda City, are you ready? Because this is going to be the toughest challenge that we have taken part in so far. And as you can see by your atrocious start, you are by far the weakest car on this grid. So we're going to have to do something we've spent a lifetime avoiding. Thinking. And coming up with a plan. And that plan is to use about 50% of our nitrous in the first lap alone, cutting our way right through the entire grid and up behind first place. We have to be so close to first place by the time the long straight comes around that we can use his slipstream to forego having to use even more of our nitrous. This strategy does actually appear to be working, and we are slowly making our way through the grid. Eventually, we come across the brake lights of the Nissan in first place, following him up the hill and onto the long straight, close enough to fit right into that slipstream of his, getting the nice speed boost that we need and keeping our nitrous levels nice in stock for the remaining 2 laps. Eventually, the straight comes to a close, and as soon as he brakes, we dive onto the inside and take first place away from him, with 2 laps remaining. So we play it defensive, making sure we've got enough nitrous to last the rest of the race. Take that, cone. With the strategy played out to perfection, surprising even myself, we managed to cross the line in third place. But the problem is, this would be the easiest track, as it's got nice long straights for us to work with. But as I was about to discover, there are other more technical courses, which pose a completely different problem to solve. This time, we're at El Capitan, and as usual, the city gets off to its famous slow start, letting the opponents get a bit of a lead. However, now that we've upgraded the tyres of this Honda City, it absolutely kills it in the corners, and it's not long before the city is making its way through the grid towards the front, passing cars one after another, and by the final hairpin, we've reached first, beating around the outside of the S2000. Remember this corner, because by the third lap, we have a 4.5 second lead, which we will really struggle to keep due to our tyres being absolutely shredded. And as we come up to that hairpin again, this time it's the S2000's turn to go around the outside, and the city is barely able to hold them off, as the two of them speed down towards the finish line together, with us only narrowly taking a victory. With this Grand Prix completely out of the way, besides some special events, there is only one more championship that this car is eligible for, the All Japan GT Championship. So Honda City, here we are again, back at Fuji Speedway, for the race that everything has been leading up to. A race against actual race cars. Oh my god, they make your slow starts look so much worse. But eventually, the city does build up some speed. But no matter how hard we push, we still find ourselves fighting with last place. Switching back between 5th with this race car here was honestly the best that the Honda City and I could manage. So to have any chance of winning, we resort to blocking, ramming, and well, just flat outright cheating. Even then, it's only good enough to get us 3rd place. And it's not really in the spirit of competition. Also, the other tracks in the championship don't have such exploitable shortcuts. So I think this might be as far as you go, Honda City. Don't feel bad though, you really did me proud, even if your winning ratio was only 35%. And at that embarrassing ratio, my B-Spec driver smiles. Because he's a dick. And I hate him. You know what, Honda City? I think after all your hard work, you deserve a nice rest out behind the shed. Hello, WRX. Are you ready for an adventure?